Okay. Hi, everybody. So welcome back. I haven't been here for 2 weeks, and so I am back. So I just recorded this entire episode with the mute button on my microphone on. So rookie mistake. Oh, now I'm back. So you'll get the edited version, which is probably better because I didn't really have a script for this, so I kind of rambled a bit. So now I deleted the episode and we can move on. So to get started, I want to thank my sponsor, which is me. I am an independent consultant with Arbonne International. And for 39 years, Arbonne has strived to not add any harmful ingredients or harm the environment by using packaging that is not recyclable. And also, we've never tested on animals and we've never used any animal byproduct, so we don't encourage any harm to animals. We've done that for 39 years, and we've kind of trudged through that on our own, trying to spread the word. But we were excited at the convention last weekend that we will be classified as a B Corporation, which shows that we've been actually doing what we've said we've been doing all along. Full transparency, and our profits are going to be shown to go toward good things. So anyway, I'm proud to be an Arbonne consultant. If you want any more information, you can contact me through my website, sallyholida.arbonne.com. All right, thank you so much. So today's episode is going to talk about my work with children. And when my kids were young, I decided that I was going to bring them to a church that was down the street from us. And the reason was I'd been to a memorial service for a man who was the president of the parent association at the elementary school that my kids were going to. And I sat there and I was thinking, how is he able to do so much? He was such an amazing person. That is because he had passed away, and it was very sad. It was tragic and sudden, and there were a whole bunch of people there, and he was an actor. He played Tackleberry on the Police Academy movies, and it was just an amazing person. And I thought, that guy had 24 hours in the day, just like anybody else. And how did he pack doing so much for so many? And it was really inspiring. And also, when I was at the church, I realized that that church seemed to be very inclusive, very open, very understanding, very current, I thought, with the times. And I had really struggled with, this is not going to be an episode on faith, but I had struggled on sharing my faith with my kids on how to do it. And I realized I was a little in over my head, and I probably should bring in some professionals. So I thought to myself, well, they could come here, they could see what I believe. This is what I believe. I believe everybody is welcome. I don't believe in excluding anyone. I believe in gay marriage. I believe in feeding the homeless. I believe in all this. So you could come, you can see what I believe. And then if you were interested, great. If you want to rebel against it, fine. But at least you have something to rebel against instead of nothingness and me kind of flailing around trying to teach you what I think. So, I was very glad I went. And the woman who was in charge of the church school program pulled me aside one day and said, I think you should teach Sunday school. And I was like, oh, no. I want to sit in the congregation and just rest for a minute. But I realized that at the time we didn't have a lot of money and I wasn't going to be able to donate monetarily. So I thought, well, I give my time and I can be a Sunday school teacher. So that's what I did. And I did that for 7 or 8 years with preschoolers, and it was super fun. I also taught during the summer camps. I also was involved with the music camp. And my friend ran the drama camp. So I really, and also having 4 children, you're around a lot of other children because they have their own little packs of friends. So you get to know a lot of other children. And I realized how much I really like other people. I love children in general, other people's children, my children. I just like being around them. I think they're funny. I think they're interesting. It's just interesting to see kids grow up and how they change. And I really feel it's important that we take on the responsibility of other children as well. The raising of them, or not the raising of them, but the inspiring of them, is that it's all of our job. When I was younger, way before I had children, there was a book that came out by Robert Bly called Iron Man. And one of the central themes in that book was in the community, the parents, or mostly the father, was not necessarily the mentor. He was the breadwinner and he supported the family, but he wasn't necessarily the mentor. The uncles or the friends of the father or whatever were the mentors. And usually those are the people that really understand the kid, because the parent has kind of an idea of what they think the kid should do. But the mentors are the outside people. They're the ones that kind of listen, hear what the kid wants to do, and encourages them. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just kind of like the way things are. We all as parents have this ideal dream of having the child stand up and being valedictorian, from number one in their college, and stand up there like the Hallmark card commercials and saying, if it wasn't for my mom, nothing could have ever happened, and I've been guilty of that myself. But the truth is that it'd be I'm at a point now where I'd be happy if my kid said, is happy and is doing what they love. And they say, if it wasn't for Fred, who told me I could do this, I'd be happy with that. It's as long as they end up happy, right? That's all that's important. So I realized that actually I could be a mentor then to other kids too, the more I've been around children, I talk to children all the time. I talk to children on the lines at the grocery store. I love being around kids. I just think they're adorable. Nothing lightens up your day like looking at a kid in a stroller and going, hey there, hi big boy, high five. It just makes you feel better. And if you think about it, it's what we've all been doing for how many thousands and thousands, millions of years? I mean, that's what it is, right? We grow up, they're babies, they grow up, they take over, on and on, right? The circle of life. So I think it's important for us to make those connections, even if it's just a hi there, just acknowledging they live. There was a statistic that the dropout, there were kids that almost dropped out. They did a survey of kids that had almost dropped out of high school. And the only reason they didn't drop out was because the custodian said good morning to them every day. And the custodian would notice if they weren't there. Where were you yesterday? Hey, I missed you. Isn't that amazing? That's such a tiny bit of encouragement of just noticing that they exist. Can you imagine if you said, wow, that's a beautiful piece of work, or, oh, you seem to be really good at that. Just saying those kind of sentences, or saying to your son's best friend, I've always thought that you seem to be talented in that. Something that's honest and genuine can go a long way. So after John passed away, I was trying to figure out what I wanted. You're treading water, you're keeping your head above water, and you do kind of look and go, oh, now what am I going to do in my life? And find meaning, because you want to hold on to something that has meaning. And so I came across our youth group was going to a trip to the Tennyson Center in Denver, and my third son was going to go. So I asked if I could be chaperone, and he was okay with that. So, and my older sons had gone, and they had spoke just volumes of great things about it and how powerful it was. So the Tennyson Center is an organization that was started and founded back when there were orphan trains, which is horrifying that they used to pile a bunch of kids up New York and take them off the streets in New York and Boston, and they put them on trains and just send them west with no paperwork or nothing. They had no idea anything about their lineage, anything. They just went and they dropped them off, and then most of the religious organizations were ones that took them in because they knew they were coming and they were like afraid for them. So there were a lot of great stories. There were a lot of great happy stories about that, being taken in by really loving families, and it changed their lives. And then, of course, there are very horrible stories about children being put into situations that were, awful, or child labor, working farms and stuff like that. So Tennyson Center was set up so that it made sure that those children were placed in good places. So it was kind of like the beginning of the foster care system. So now that there is a foster care system, the Tennyson Center now is the one that takes in the kids that the families just can't deal with anymore because of whatever reason, violent behavior or emotional issues, or, just too much for them to handle. And so the Tennyson Center is there to take those kids in and kind of rehabilitate them. And they are very clear that to those children that they will never, ever send them off anywhere else, that they belong there, that they will, if they can, they'll never, they may go off, they may go to jail because they've done something, or they may go off to whatever, but when they're done, they can always come back. They'll always be welcome at the Tennyson Center. So that's a really remarkable place. And so I was afraid to go there because most of the kids that I'd worked with were kids that were, they didn't have any severe issues. And I was nervous and thinking that I wasn't going to be able to connect with them. And I was wrong. Oh gosh, it was so great. And they were great kids, and they were funny, and they were creative. And I just loved being around them. And at the end, they went around the room and everyone shared about, their, one of the kids I think was moving on, going back home. And they were saying goodbye to him and how he had really improved and all the great things that they had done. And they also shared with us, said how they thought about us after the week. And it was just really powerful how much the kids had been affected by just our being there. It drew me pictures, wrote me poems. It was great. So when I came back, I was like, well, I really need to do something. So I ended up talking with a friend, and I was at a luncheon, and I got a little raffle ticket. And I was at a luncheon for the Burbank Boys and Girls Club, and the Arbonne Charitable Foundation, I'm a sponsor for a grant for the Boys and Girls Club. So I've been going to the luncheons and stuff, and I knew people. And my ticket got called, and I went up, and it was a sign, and it said, "Your future starts here." And it was a picture made by the children of the Boys and Girls Club. And my friend goes, "I think you got your sign." So I started working for the Boys and Girls Club in August of 2017 as a youth development professional. So it was just in the afternoons. And I do tutor and stuff like that. And so at first I was thinking, well, these are all kids in a nice area, and I don't know if they're really going to need me. And then I met Mary. So, by the way, I am changing all the names. It's not appropriate, I think, to use real names. So these aren't the real names of the kids that I worked with. So I worked with Mary, and Mary was in 5th grade, and she had, she was very suspicious at first, and she was really struggling in school, and she didn't want to struggle, but she really didn't know her multiplication tables. And if there's one thing I can tell all of you, if you have kids, just get them to memorize their multiplication tables. You can go to Staples, you can buy flashcards for like $5. You can do flashcards for chocolate. That's what I do with the kids. Flashcards for chocolate. And then when they get through the whole stack of flashcards, they get a Hershey's Kiss. And then they just keep doing it until they got them memorized. It doesn't take long. It really doesn't take long for them to memorize their multiplication tables, but they don't really do it that much in school anymore where they memorize them. And it makes all the difference in the world if they just memorize them. When they get through to division and fractions and the whole bit, counting on their fingers, it's just not going to work. So anyway, there's my tip. So Mary really, it's funny, her books and all of her stuff was all neat. It was all brand new and neat, and all the erasers were different colors, all of her little supplies. It was all neat, and all the little folders and the tabs and the things. It was just, everything was neat and clean, and she was very cute in the way she would dress, and all neat and clean. And I was thinking, she's so funny. She seems to have all this stuff all organized and ready to go, but for some reason she just, with the schoolwork, she really struggled, and she was mad at it and everything. So we worked on it, and after a few months, we found out that her family was part of Family Promise. So Family Promise is an organization, a local organization that takes people who are struggling and homeless and then sets them up and finds them housing. So when I realized that, I went, oh, that's right. Boys and Girls Club. We have financial aid and we take in children, families who are struggling. It's kind of what we're for. And it really hit me. I went, oh, I am going to be able to help children who are foster children or children who are struggling and in their situation, their home situation isn't optimal. And so anyway, so we really worked. She and I worked, and I really got to know her. I really loved being around her. She was very funny and attitude, but so funny. I love attitude. I think it's great. I don't want a complicit kid that behaves. I like kids who are spunky and tell me what they're thinking. I think it's great. So she ended up, by the end of the year, she looked at me and she comes back from her final tests, and I said, so how are your tests? And she looks at me and she goes, I'm not happy. And I was like, what happened? And she goes, 95. And then she burst into a big smile. I couldn't believe it, that she had made a 95. And, she wanted to be, I asked her what she wanted to be, and she wanted to be a nurse. And I said, like her mom. And I said, you know what? I said, if you want to be a nurse, you got to know math. You can't avoid the math. And so you're just going to have to hunker down and learn it. And then you'll be able to be a nurse. It's just the way it works. And so she was just amazing. So I'm still in contact with her mom, and I hope one day I get an email where she ended up. That would be great. But so because they've since moved, because they've had to be moved and relocated, and so I really hope that she is able to kind of hunker down and stay on course. That's what's hard about that when you're being moved around. Another kid, Terri, she was very cute. She came in and she had moved from Brooklyn. So she was really fish out of water, and she would burst into tears over anything that would go not her way. She didn't have her ice cream truck money, or the kids didn't want to play with her or whatever. And I mean, really burst into tears. And so we really had to work with her and get her to the point where she could toughen up a little bit. And just 2 months ago, she came over to me and she was upset because the little boy, an older boy, because she was in second grade and he was in fourth, had said something really mean to her. And so I said to her, I went, you know what? I would love to be able to tell you that I can go over and talk to him and he'll never say anything mean to you again. But the truth is that there are some kids out there that just like to say mean stuff, and they like to see you cry. And I know you think you cry. If you cry, he'll stop. But because your family would, and your people who love you do. But he doesn't think that way. So if there's one tip that I can give too, is that I love this idyllic drive to stop bullying. But I really just, and maybe I'm just a cynic and I'm 56 and I don't think that it's possible, but I don't think it's possible to eliminate and eradicate bullying. I don't think we're ever going to be there. I think that's utopia. I think that's heaven. I don't think that's here. And I think children need to understand that what people, and how many adults wrestle with that too. What other people say and think of them is none of your business. I mean, where does that even start? It starts in the playground. It starts in the playground of not wanting to tell the kids the kids that don't want you to play with them, don't play with them. They don't want to play with you. They go find people who want to play with you. The fixation of wanting to be in a group that doesn't want you there. You just need to how about if that you just don't worry and don't want to be part of that group? Well, why don't you go with this group? And so 2 weeks ago, she came over to me and she said, I think I got it. And I said, what? She goes, I think I got it. I think I should just hang around people I like who like me. And I went, that's it. I was like, if you can come out of this with that, man, if that's what you get from being around me, I'm happy. So that was a great one. Another little girl, Sofia, she came from Russia. She was hilarious. She came last year. I met her in just a few weeks after I started working. And she was spunky and furious when she lost anything. I mean, you look at her and she looked like a Disney princess. Just everything about her, just the way she just was so funny and just beautiful child. But boy, when she got mad, man, the steam would come out of her ears like she was furious. And so we really had to work with her on her temper and getting along with others and playing with people. And she really came a long way. And just this last month, we made her Youth of the Month. It was great. But she's as funny as she could be. And she hated math too. Boy, she hated math. And I said to her one day, we were working on math, and I said, it's like, Sofia, you gotta learn math. And she was like, why do I have to learn math? I hate math. I hate it so much. I know, Dad, what do I have to do? It's so stupid. And I said, you have to learn math. I said, if you don't know math, you're not going to be able to buy shoes. What does that mean? What does that even mean, Sally? I don't even know what that means. And I said, because every day you come in and you have a different pair of shoes on, you always have shoes. You have tons of shoes. You have pink, shiny high tops. You have glittery little slip-on shoes. I've never seen a child with so many shoes. And you love shoes. And she goes, right. What does that have to do with math? I said, because one day your parents aren't going to buy you you aren't going to be in charge of you. You're going to have your own job. You're going to be paying your own bills. You're going to have a house. You're going to have a car. You're going to have to pay all the bills. And so if you don't know math, you're not going to be able to figure out how much money you need for all those things and how much money left over you have for shoes. And oh my gosh, she just rolls her eyes. So that became a joke. So every time she would start to work or she got mad at math, I'd say, Sofia, don't you want shoes? Don't forget you want shoes. And so this year, I was working with a new kid that had just joined us, and she was fussing about math. And Sofia walked over and goes, oh my gosh, you better just do it. Sally's going to tell you that you need to know math because of shoes, because you need to buy shoes. The other thing Sofia was funny was because she was from Russia, she said to me one day, she was so sharp, so funny. She's so funny. She said to me, I made a joke and she said, is that sarcasm? And I'm like, yes, Sofia, that's sarcasm. And she goes, okay, that's pretty funny. So she would say to me, she'd go, oh, I got that. That's sarcasm. So she was funny. Around Thanksgiving, we asked her, we said, Sofia, so how long have you been in America? 3 years. And we said, so do you guys celebrate Thanksgiving? And she says, yes. She goes, oh, my father always, we have to celebrate our every holiday in America. Every holiday he makes us, everything. So I said, well, then what are you thankful for? And she looked at us and just looked at us like we were crazy. Like that was the dumbest question anyone could ever ask. And she said, freedom. And we went, wow. She was just really something else. So end of last year, I was promoted to the unit director of the location where I was. And so that meant that there were like 76 kids that were in our group, and 66 came on a regular basis. And so we would tutor them, help them with homework. And then after that, they play. We have different activities. Boys and Girls Club is an enriched program. So we have STEM, we have art, we have dance, we have Girl Scouts. We have, what's the other one I'm giving up? College Bound. We'd have all sorts of little courses. And so the kids can choose and pick and choose, and all of that's not extra. So it's just a thing to kind of like, we do Culture Month. We do, we pick different cultures. We talk about different things. We don't really have a lot of instruction time because we do like them to play. There's no electronics. And we really do spend most of our day conflict resolution, getting them to learn how to play together, getting them to learn how to take turns, how to win gracefully. One of the things I stole from my son Matt when he used to take fencing, the guy was really funny. They would have a fencing match, and then the guy would go up, if the kid lost, and the kid would be sad. He'd go up, go back to the back of the line, and plan your revenge. So we used to say that with Foursquare. So it was, a lot of it was just conflict resolution. And to be honest, any of these kids that are coming home now and go in and game, they have a long day at school and then they game for 3 or 4 hours before dinner. they're not learning any of those skills. And so I really feel like the Boys and Girls Club is a great organization right now to help bring the fine art of dealing with others, learning how to be kind, learning them to make right choices and good choices and being nice people. I used to say that to a lot of some of these kids. They would say some really horrible stuff. And I would say, really, who do you want to be? Do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be the guy that says stuff like that to somebody and makes them sad? Because now's the time. You make these choices right now. And once you go down the road for a long way, it's hard to turn around and come way back. I'm 56. There's choices that I made that turn around and come back way back. It's hard. Now you're making these choices. It really does put you on the right path. And there were some kids who were just great kids, just get it, just understood. One family, people donate things and stuff. And they were saying, well, do we need to donate anything? And I said, well, you do have two extremely well-behaved children who are just, get the program. So that's kind of part of your donation, I think. But, it's really interesting because I think it's good for them I liked it. I didn't mind it. I didn't dislike a child for saying a really horrible thing. I took it as a learning moment. It was a great teaching moment. We could take it right then and there. We could talk about it. We could talk about cursing. We can talk about all those things. And it was funny because it got to the point where sometimes the kids just would behave so they wouldn't get a big, long lecture with me, sit down, because I'd sit across from them and we'd have a big, long talk. And if they didn't want to have the big, long talk, they just didn't curse, So anyway, as much as I loved it, as great as it is, it's a part-time job, but it's actually quite a wonderful, fulfilling job. And if anybody was looking for a part-time job that they could really sink their teeth into and have their mornings free, it's a great gig. But unfortunately for me and with my Arbonne business, it was too much for me to do and to give up all my afternoons and for the entire school year. So I really have the utmost respect for teachers, and I really got to see firsthand what it is to be a teacher. If I was kind of struggling with having my life and juggling everything, I can't imagine full-time, having to be there, having all the demands. Now, I know not all teachers are wonderful, but wonderful teachers are right up there with firemen, I think. I mean, they're amazing, amazing people. And they really are shaping our children. They're kids at the end of the school year who are crying because they're not going to see their teachers anymore. So it's really just a remarkable thing. So I had to give my notice, and yesterday was my last day, and it was hard. But I really feel like I was at the right place in the right time for some kids. And I really think it really healed me. I'm not completely, I'll never be completely healed from John's death, but it definitely gave me a new side and a bigger, broader picture of the world. And it really helped me see kind of where I think my place is. And so I really still want to work with children. I'm still going to be involved with Boys and Girls Club through the Arbonne Charitable Foundation. But I just can't do it on that level. So I might, who knows, a couple of years from now, they told me I always have a home there. So I could always maybe step back in. But for now, I need to, make the main thing the main thing. So I'm going to end with, because I really feel that we all have a responsibility to take a minute to encourage children, help them see that they're special, help them see that all of them are special. They all have a light. They all have, one of the little girls is this big singer, and she doesn't like to sing in front of people. And I said to her yesterday, said goodbye to her. She's a 5th grader, and I wouldn't have seen her again because she's going to middle school. But I said, you need to sing. You need to, that's your light. You need to shine it. It's what you have. It's your gift. And don't be afraid to shine it, because, now's the time to do it. Don't worry about what other people think. You need to do what you think is right. And so those kind of sentences mean something when they hear it from somebody else. It's not me. It's not Sally saying it. It's another person saying it. And so if there's, like I said, if there's a child in your life, children in your life that aren't yours, that you feel are really remarkable children, look them in the eye and tell them, because that really goes far. Don't underestimate the power of saying how you really feel and encouraging a child because they need it, and they can use it, and they'll fall back on it, and they'll remember it. Look back on your own life and think about the things that people said to you that were not your parents, and how that one sentence could have really, you made decisions based on those sentences. So one of my staff came in yesterday and she said, here's a letter. And she goes, and she opened it up and she goes, one of the kid, they had left. I'd said goodbye to them and everything. And then they left. And then I guess she ran back in because the dad had forgotten to give us this letter. And when I said goodbye to her, my staff was teasing me because they said, it's your favorite. And I said, well, I don't have favorites. I really don't have favorites. But there was something special about this little girl. She's in 5th grade, and she's just one of those people. She's one of those, I didn't feel like I had any influence on her at all. In fact, she was more influential to me. Talk about think outside the box. She could make a purse out of paper. And I mean a really cool purse. Any artwork that she did was always very cool, very interesting. There are people that color inside the lines, and then there are other people that can color inside the lines, but then change the lines. And that was this girl. The way she dressed, the way she was around other people. She was kind-hearted. She was generous. She was open. There was just so much about her that was really remarkable. She seemed like an old soul. And I've been hanging out and talking to her for 2 years now, and after school. And there's just something about her. And I've always said to her, I said, whatever you end up doing, I want to be invited. So I don't know if it's going to be an art exhibit. I don't know if it's going to be music you play. I don't know if it's going to be an app you design. I don't know if it's going to be a fashion line that you design. I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what you're going to do, but I need to be invited because I have a feeling I'll really like it, because I know it'll be inspired and come from a place of true, artistry. She's just really a remarkable kid. And it's hard to say that. You go, well, how can you say that about a 5th grader? But it was true. She just was different. And it was just great to be around her. So I didn't really think I had much of an impact on her, to be honest, because, she didn't need any guidance. I didn't feel like I had to tell her to do anything except clean up, when it was time for her to go, all the artwork and all the mess that she would leave. But other than that, I didn't really feel like there was anything. So we got this letter and from her dad, and this kind of sums it up. And so this is how I'm going to end today's episode, because this really basically summed up why I did what I did for the last 2 years. So to Sally and the Boys and Girls Club team, Lana has been coming here since her very first day of school 5 years ago. I know she has probably learned more here about working together, respect, and kindness than in anywhere else in her life. Lana now wants to come back and be part of your team when she is older. For me, that tells me how much she cares about all of you and appreciates what you do and what you have to deal with day in and day out. My family would like to thank you. Without people taking the time to help younger generations to be good students and better people, who knows how these kids would turn out. Thank you for your patience, your time, and for watching over our daughter. So that was it. So that really hit me and all of us yesterday, because that is what we really are doing. And it was nice. It was nice for somebody to say, I get it. I get what you're doing, because that is what we were doing. And that's what we do with our kids. So I'm really going to miss them so much. I got to say goodbye and look my kids in the eye and wish them the best. Tell them how proud of them I was, and everything that they've worked on, and how to keep going and stay sweet and hang around people that like them and all of it. So thanks for listening. And I'm going to focus more on, obviously, my Arbonne business, and also so that I can make more, so that I can do more for others. I really want to really get sink my teeth into the foster care system and see what I could do and help there. I did have a foster child I mentioned this on the other broadcast that I had the mute button on earlier, but she was with me when she was in high school, and I'm still in contact with her. I do not see her as much as I'd like to, but she lives kind of far away. But we contact each other, thank God, through Facebook messaging and everything on Facebook. But she's amazing, and I didn't really have to do much. It was all there. She just needed a place, to flourish. And so that's what I'd like to do. They say that about in Arbonne, we like to have a place where people can flourish. I'd like to figure out a way to get a place where foster kids and kids that are just kind of dealt a rough hand have a place to flourish and grow. So that's my goal. So I'm going to continue the podcast. I'm going to monetize this. I want to advertise this. I want to blow it up and do more with it. I want to thank everybody who's been a supporter so far to give me the confidence to keep going and to do all the episodes I've done. And I have guests, but we just have to line up dates. And I will be back. So I'll be back next week. Thanks so much for listening, and talk to you next week.